Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Today, I welcome you to a story that goes beyond age, beyond society, beyond rules. A story that reminds us that real love does not follow numbers, it follows hearts. Some stories are simple, some stories are predictable, but some stories touch the soul because they show us how love can heal, how kindness can rebuild, and how connection can blossom between two people who were never supposed to meet. Yet somehow they found their way to each other. This is not an ordinary tale. This is not a fantasy. This is a journey of two hearts that loved each other in silence, in fear, in hope, and finally in truth. Today's story, Love Has No Age, is told from a girl's heart, raw, emotional, honest. A girl who learned that sometimes the person written for you comes in a form the world doesn't understand. So sit back, close your eyes, and let your heart listen, because what you are about to hear is not just a story, it is a reminder that love is a feeling, not a calculation. This is a continuous emotional narration like you asked, long, deep, one flow. No breaks, no chapters, no headings inside the story. My name is Zara. I am 26 years old, but I feel much older than the years written on my ID card. People often tell me I look young, that my smile is soft and my eyes are full of quiet dreams, but no one knows the battles I have fought within myself. No one knows how many times I have tried to rebuild my heart after watching it shatter again and again. I was raised in a world where girls are taught to smile even when they are breaking inside, to stay quiet when their souls are screaming, to carry the weight of expectations even when their shoulders shake. Maybe that's why I always felt older inside, because I had learned pain too early. Not the dramatic kind of pain, not the kind that people write about in movies, but the silent kind. The kind that changes you slowly, silently, permanently. For most of my 20s, I believed love was nothing but a beautiful lie. The boys my age talked about love like it was a game, like it was something temporary, something to experience but not to cherish. I really tried to give my heart a chance, to believe that maybe I would find someone who understood me. But every time I opened my heart, I found myself standing alone again, disappointed yet pretending to be strong. I remember telling myself, love is not for people like me. I had dreams, yes, but I also had fears. I wanted someone who made me feel safe, someone who looked at me like I mattered. Someone who listened not just to my words, but to the silence between them. And then, one ordinary afternoon, he walked into my life, quiet, distant, calm like a winter evening, and everything changed. That day, I was sitting inside the small bookshop where I worked, surrounded by shelves that smelled like old stories and forgotten memories. The shop was usually empty, except for a few students or older men looking for newspapers. I loved that quietness. It made me feel less alone. Around 5 p.m., I heard the small bell above the door ring, and I looked up automatically, expecting just another customer. But the man who walked in was different, not because of his appearance, though his presence demanded attention without asking for it, but because of something in his eyes. He looked like someone who had lived through storms, but had learned to walk calmly through them. Someone who had loved deeply and lost deeply, someone tired, but still kind. He was tall, with gentle lines on his face that spoke of years lived with responsibility. His hair was almost completely gray, but somehow it made him look even more dignified. He wore a simple dark sherwani style coat, and his hands were tucked into the pockets as if he were cold or nervous, I couldn't tell which. He must have been around 53. I remember thinking, he looks like someone who carries the weight of whole worlds on his shoulders. He looked around slowly, almost with a soft fondness for the books, and then walked toward the counter where I stood. His voice was warm yet filled with a quiet sadness when he asked, "Do you have something peaceful, something that helps you breathe a little easier?" No one had ever asked me that before. Most people wanted thrilling stories or dramas, but he wanted peace. Something about that touched my heart. I found him a collection of soft poetry, handed it to him, and for the first time his eyes met mine. There was no judgment in his gaze, no curiosity, no ego, only sincerity, only softness. I didn't know then, but that moment would become the beginning of everything. He started visiting the bookshop every week. Sometimes he bought books, sometimes he didn't. Sometimes he spoke, sometimes he only nodded or smiled. But every time he walked in, something in my heart settled, like the chaos inside me paused for a little while. I didn't know his story, and he didn't ask for mine. We didn't flirt, we didn't exchange numbers, we didn't stand too close. But there was an unspoken connection, gentle, respectful, inevitable. One evening, when the shop was almost empty and the sunset painted the windows golden, he finally shared his name. "I'm Ayaan," he said softly. "I used to be a teacher, but life has changed." That pause, that hesitation told me more than any long explanation could. I didn't ask him what changed. I simply nodded and said, "Books help. They helped me too." And he smiled a real smile, one that softened the tiredness in his face. As days turned into weeks, our conversations grew a little deeper, a little warmer. He would ask me what I dreamed of, what I feared, what I wanted from life. No boy my age had ever asked me those things. They wanted to know my favorite color, my hobbies, my social media, never my heart. But Ayaan listened to my silences more than others listened to my words. I learned that he had lost his wife 8 years ago. He told me he had tried to move on, but grief had a way of holding on to him even when he tried to let go. Yet when he talked to me, there was a gentleness, a lightness that felt new, even for him and for me. He became the first person to ever look at me like I was more than just a girl behind a counter. He looked at me like I was human, like my heart mattered. I did not fall in love with his age. I fell in love with his kindness, his calmness, the way he respected me without effort, the way he made me feel safe without trying. I fell in love with the way he spoke slowly, the way he paused before answering, the way he made every moment feel meaningful. I fell in love with how he always treated me with dignity, with patience, with sincerity. I fell in love with the way he saw me not as a young girl, not as someone vulnerable, but as someone strong, someone capable, someone deserving of gentleness. Society sees age, hearts do not. One evening, when the sky was heavy with clouds and the smell of rain filled the air, Ayaan came to the bookshop looking more tired than usual. I asked him if he was okay. He nodded slowly, but his eyes were distant. "Life feels very long sometimes," he whispered, "especially when you walk through it alone." I don't know what happened to me in that moment, but I reached out and gently placed my hand on his. It was the first time we ever touched. His hand was warm, strong, steady. For a moment he froze, surprised, unsure, but then he relaxed, lowering his gaze. Our hands stayed there on the counter, together, quietly understanding what words could not express. "You're not alone," I said softly. He looked at me then, really looked, and in that gaze I saw 1,000 emotions: fear, hope, gratitude, affection, maybe even love. But he pulled his hand back slightly and shook his head as if reminding himself of something. "Zara, we shouldn't." "Why?" I whispered. "Because of age." He didn't answer. He didn't have to. His silence said everything. But love is stubborn. Love grows even when you try to stop it. Love finds cracks and fills them. From that night onward, our bond changed. We didn't confess anything. We didn't cross any lines. But there was something new in the way he said my name, something softer in the way he looked at me, something protective in his tone. And something new awakened inside me too, a quiet longing, a gentle warmth, a kind of affection I had never felt before. For months, we lived in that unspoken love, a love that neither of us said but both of us felt. A love that was gentle and respectful, yet powerful enough to change us. One day, after closing the shop, I found Ayaan waiting outside. He looked nervous. I approached him slowly, my heart beating faster for reasons I didn't want to admit. He took a deep breath and said, "Zara, I don't know what this is or what it could ever be, but I want you to know that meeting you has brought peace into my life again. You remind me that I'm still human, still capable of feeling." My heart felt warm and heavy at the same time. I wanted to say everything, every feeling, every fear, every hope, but I said only this: maybe love has no age, maybe love only has honesty. He closed his eyes for a moment, like my words were both a blessing and a weight. When he opened them, there was a softness there that made my breath catch. You deserve someone young, someone close to your world, he whispered. I stepped closer, my voice firm but gentle. I deserve someone kind, someone who respects me, someone who sees me, someone who doesn't treat love like a game. I don't want a young heart, I want a good heart. That was the first time tears filled his eyes. And that night, under the quiet streetlight, he slowly reached out and held my hand, not like a man claiming something, but like a man grateful for something he never expected to receive. His thumb brushed softly over my knuckles, and something in my chest bloomed like a flower after years of drought. We didn't kiss, we didn't rush, we didn't say dramatic declarations. We simply stood there, 2 different ages, 2 different lives, 2 different worlds, but one shared truth. We loved each other. From that day onward, the world whispered about us. Some people judged. Some people frowned. Some people questioned. But they didn't see how his presence healed me, how his wisdom grounded me, how his kindness made me feel safe. They didn't see how my laughter brought warmth back into his life, how my honesty revived him, how my care made him feel alive again. People saw only numbers, we saw souls. People saw age, we saw connection. People saw difference, we saw destiny. Love did not ask us how old we were. Love only asked us if our hearts chose each other. And they did, quietly, deeply, truly. Ayaan and I learned to walk together through life, not hiding, not apologizing, but simply embracing the miracle we found in each other. And every day I wake up grateful. Not because he's older, not because I'm younger, but because he is mine, and I am his, and our souls fit perfectly, beautifully, fearlessly. My name is Zara, I am 26, he is 53, and our love. It is real, it is deep, it is brave, and it is proof that love has no age, it only has sincerity. Thank you, dear listeners, for staying with this story until the end. If this tale touched your heart even a little, then remember one thing. Love does not follow rules created by society, it follows the truth written in our souls. We spend so much of our lives worrying about what people will say, how the world will judge us, what others will think. But the world does not live inside our hearts. We do. If you ever find someone who respects you, understands you, listens to you, protects your peace, and helps you breathe easier, hold on to them. Real connections are rare. Real love is rare, and age is just a number on paper. What matters is the bond between 2 hearts, the honesty between 2 souls, and the courage to choose love even when the world doesn't understand. Until next time, may your heart find the love it deserves, may your soul find the peace it needs, and may you always remember love has no age, it only has truth. Allah Hafiz. Take care and stay blessed.